let's hop back over to frames and groups real quick. We talked about frames. We didn't talk about groups. We talked about the fact that like you can put a bunch of stuff in a frame. A frame can be a container, like a div or anything along those lines. You know, even an array if you wanted to use that metaphor. A group is another way to go kind of have a bunch of stuff together as well, but it's not necessarily. It doesn't have any of the like features of a frame. Like it's it's not something you can use kind of like in a prototype. It's just like, I want to move a bunch of stuff at once a bunch of times. Maybe you want to duplicate 3 objects at the same time. You can make a group real quick. They'll stay together, so when you select one of them, you'll get all 3. So I can hit Command-G or right-click and group them. But usually what I use this for is if like we saw if I had mixed, I can like subtract 100 pixels and that works. That's great. But what if I wanted like, OK, the whole group, but I want you all to like, for the whole selection, go to like the 0, 0 point. Because I think you can kind of see in this case, like my first thing here is at negative 1,279. What if I wanted this page to start at 0, 0? Like I could grab it and I could try to like guess and move it around and stuff along those lines. I could do the math here. That seems horrible. What I'd rather do is just quickly make a group. Say, move that to 0, move that to 0 on the y-axis. They'll all move, and everything will behave as I thought it should. And then to ungroup, you can just hit Command-Shift-G, and it will ungroup those. So I'll use it if I need to do like a bunch of stuff at once. Occasionally, you want to group things while you're making a design. I would say like 5% of the time, I'm like permanently keeping a group. The rest of the time, I'm probably using a frame. But if I'm just like temporarily doing something, I'll group it, do whatever I'm doing, ungroup it really quickly. Frames are what we use for everything else. We saw that you can like draw a frame with the F, hit F, make box, put stuff in. Right? Makes sense. The other thing we might want to do is I have stuff. What I want to do in this case is if I hit Command-Option-G, because that's the letter we normally think about for frames, right? The letter G. It will make a frame out of that as well. And you can see this is a transparent one. So if I try, what none of you can see because this MacBook is very fancy, is that I'm slamming on my trackpad. I'm slamming on the trackpad trying to select this. I could hit the name, or I can hit Command, and then I will actually get it in this case as well. And we can have that too. So we can create frames by drawing them. We can select stuff. We can make a frame around it with Command-Option-G. The other option, if you're like, I'll never remember that, is grab 2 things, right-click. You have a bunch of options here. And then eventually, like, you'll start to memorize some of these things. The one caveat is these 2 things have different keystrokes for creating groups and frames. But just to keep you on your toes, they have the same keystroke for ungrouping and unframing, which is Command-Option-G. And that seems like you'll never remember it, but like over time you will. And if not, I've made you this fun little card that you can print out and put somewhere. OK, one other thing that we want to kind of see here as well, just some other features of frames. So this is a frame. And if I go to the design piece here, there is this ability to clip content, right? Because these circles technically overflow the bounds. But if I'm trying to like create a box or something along those lines, I don't want it to overflow, or maybe it's like a browser window or something along those lines. We'll see some other use cases for this in a little bit. I can say like anything outside the bounds of this frame, hide and put away forever.